$600,000. That's how much my neighbor lost the day he sold his house. He never figured out exactly why. He just stood in his driveway watching the auction collapse around him. And he had no idea I was the reason. I want to tell you exactly how I did it, because what I did wasn't illegal. It wasn't violent. It wasn't even particularly clever. It was just patient, methodical, and so satisfying I still smile when I drive past his old house. But I'm getting ahead of myself. For 8 years, I asked that man one simple question. Every 6 months, like clockwork, a polite letter, a neighborly conversation, even a knock on his door with a bottle of wine. Every single time he said no. Not because he had a real reason, just because he could. The day he put up his "for sale" sign was the day I stopped asking nicely. My name is John. I live with my wife and 2 kids in a quiet neighborhood in Australia in a single-story house that's been in our family for almost 20 years. The land is good, the street is quiet, the schools are walking distance. We love it here. But our family was growing, the kids were getting older. 2 boys sharing a tiny bedroom. We needed space, and the smart move financially was to build up, not buy out. Add a second story, give the boys their own rooms, add a master bath, future-proof the house for another 20 years. There was just one problem. Our property had a covenant on it, a legal agreement signed over 100 years ago by the original developer. It said that any major structural addition, and specifically a second story, required the written consent of every immediate neighbor. Every single neighbor on our street signed off. Smiles, handshakes. Some of them even congratulated us on the plans. Every single neighbor. Except one. His name was Alex. And from the moment he opened his door to my first request, I could see it in his eyes. He wasn't going to give me a reason. He was going to enjoy saying no. His reason, when he finally bothered to give one, was that a second story on my house would block his afternoon sun for about 2 hours. That was it. That was the entire argument. I offered to redesign the structure to preserve his light. No, I offered to plant trees on his side of the fence to shade his garden. No, I offered to pay him a cash sum for his cooperation. No. I had the local council mediate a meeting. He showed up, said no, and walked out before the coffee was poured. For 8 years, this went on. Every 6 months, I'd write him a polite letter. Same offer. Same response. No. And the cruel joke? Alex was a hypocrite. The same man who couldn't lose 2 hours of afternoon sun played his music until 2 in the morning every Friday, hosted loud parties that went until sunrise, burned garbage in his backyard so the smoke drifted into our open windows. He had no consideration for anyone on the street, but he was very precise about how much sunlight he was owed. By year 8, I had given up. I was ready to sell our house and move somewhere we could build the family we needed. We had the conversation. The agent was coming over to value the property. Then, on a Tuesday morning in October, I walked outside to grab the mail, and there it was, a glossy red and white "for sale" sign, right in front of Alex's house, auction date set for 4 weeks out. I stood there with the mail in my hand. The wind picked up. The sign tilted slightly on its post. I just stared at it. 8 years of no. 8 years of polite letters going into his trash. 8 years of watching him deny my family the room we needed to grow, while he sat on his porch drinking beer and watching his sunlight. And now he was just going to cash out. Take the money, move somewhere else, become someone else's problem. I went back inside, made a cup of tea, sat at the kitchen table for about 20 minutes, not thinking exactly, just feeling something cold settle into my chest. I picked up my phone, called the local print shop, and I ordered a sign of my own. A big sign, the kind you see outside actual construction sites. Glossy white background, bold red and black lettering. It said, "Coming soon, 5 new residential apartments, 3 stories. Construction expected to last 12 months. Expect increased noise and heavy vehicle traffic." I had it printed in 3 languages, English, Mandarin, Arabic. Cover every demographic of potential buyer in our area. The phone number listed was a disconnected line. I planted that sign in my front yard, right on the edge of my property, positioned so anyone walking up to inspect Alex's house couldn't miss it. Within 48 hours, Alex was at my gate, red in the face, screaming about the sign. I shrugged, said the developers had asked me to put it up early, walked back inside. The next week, I received a letter from his lawyer demanding I take the sign down. I wrote back asking for clarification on which specific local ordinance the sign violated. The lawyer sent another letter citing one. I wrote back disputing the application of that ordinance to my specific situation. He replied. I replied. He replied. I replied. 60 letters over 3 weeks. Each one Alex was paying his lawyer $50 to read and respond to. $3,000 in legal fees before the auction even happened. A week before the auction, I took the sign down. Voluntarily, with perfect timing, just like he'd asked. But I was just getting started. What would you do if your neighbor blocked your family's dream for 8 years? Just because he could. Stop the video right here. Drop your answer in the comments. Tell me what your auction day move would have been. Then come back, because what I did next cost him $600,000. Auction day. A Saturday morning, cool air, cloudless sky, perfect house hunting weather. I woke up at 5, made coffee, walked outside in my robe. I owned 4 cars, 2 for the family, 2 I'd been meaning to sell. I'd kept them all parked in my garage and backyard so Alex wouldn't get suspicious. That morning, I rolled them out, one by one, parked them in a careful line along the front of his property, strategically blocking every single auction here, directional sign the real estate agent had set up the day before. Anyone driving down the street looking for the auction couldn't find it. The signs were completely hidden behind a wall of parked cars. Then I got the speakers. I own a serious outdoor sound system, the kind people rent for backyard weddings. 2 large units, weatherproof, designed to cover an entire property. I positioned them facing Alex's house and ran the cables back through my front door. Then I queued up the playlist, construction sound effects, jackhammers, concrete mixers, the high-pitched beep of reversing dump trucks, angle grinders cutting through steel. I downloaded a 4-hour loop the night before. At 11 a.m. sharp, 15 minutes before the auction was scheduled to start, I hit play at maximum volume. Then I put my second sign back up. This one said, "House demolition furniture sale." I dragged half my garage onto the front lawn. Old couches, a dining table, 3 lamps, a broken treadmill, priced everything outrageously. Anyone who asked about the prices got a story about how the demolition was happening any day now. The auctioneer arrived at 11:15, walked up to Alex's front porch with his clipboard, tried to start the auction. He could not be heard over the jackhammers. Alex came storming over to my fence, screaming about the noise. I told him calmly that I had the construction company on a binding contract and could not reschedule. He demanded I turn the speakers off. I told him the workers were entitled to start at any time during business hours. He went back to the auction, red-faced, sweating. The few buyers who had managed to find the place through the wall of cars were exchanging worried looks. Some of them were already walking back to their vehicles. The auction was estimated to sell at 3 million Australian dollars. The reserve had been set accordingly. When the gavel finally came down, the winning bid was 2.4 million, $600,000. Gone. Alex called me that afternoon. He was screaming, threatening to sue, telling me I owed him every cent of the difference. I listened until he ran out of breath. Then I said, "I hope your new house has plenty of afternoon sun." And I hung up. The new owners moved in 3 weeks later, a young couple, friendly, smart. The wife introduced herself at our shared fence on day 2. We got to talking. I told her the whole story. She laughed for about 5 minutes straight. When I mentioned the covenant, she didn't even hesitate. She told me to draft up the consent form. They both signed it that night, lifted the restriction completely. She said, "Honestly, John, sounds like you just saved us 600 grand. We should be thanking you." I'm currently halfway through the second story build. The boys each have their own bedrooms now. The master bath is finished. The kitchen has the best afternoon light in the entire street. And every time I drive past Alex's old house, I think about that gavel coming down at 2.4 million, about the moment his life savings evaporated by a quarter, about the 8 years of no that I finally turned into a bill he had to pay. Some debts aren't measured in dollars. They're measured in years. In every single time someone tells you no for no reason other than spite. And the only way to settle that debt is to make sure the lesson costs them something they can never forget. Next time on Red Stories, a woman discovers her boyfriend has been logging into her accounts and sending fake messages to her entire family. What she does to his MacBook in the next 10 seconds ends his entire digital life. Don't miss the MacBook brick. If you think Alex got what he deserved, hit that like button. Tell me in the comments, has a neighbor ever made your life hell for no reason? I want to hear your story.